Hello you absolute legends. Minecraft has been crazy lately. In the past week there have been 2 world records that are nothing short of monumental. And given that I am now officially a full-time Minecraft channel, I just had to cover these ridiculous speedruns. It's really interesting to see how these strategies used in Minecraft have changed over the past few months. Minecraft has a reputation as being a pretty luck-dependent game, but you would be surprised at how many of these issues are being solved by new discoveries. For example, we all know that piglin bartering for ender pearls used to be pretty horrendous, with players having to reset constantly. But these days, with the use of bastions, players basically have all of the gold and piglins they could ever want. Nowadays, it's actually statistically unlikely that you don't get what you need in a relatively short amount of time. We will take a look at some other advancements in this video, but some of the things people are finding out about how the game works is incredible. For example, we are now learning that you can use naturally generating structures to find out where strongholds are located, greatly improving the odds of one of the most random factors in speedruns. This new tech is still in its infancy, but it's looking really promising. Basically, the accumulation of knowledge is making speedruns much faster and more consistent than they were before. Last year, getting a run below 20 minutes was pretty insane. Now, well over 100 people have done it. It seems that on average the top runners are regularly pacing several minutes faster than they were just a couple of months ago. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that you should never discount the power of ingenuity. And while many people instantly write off the game as a lottery, other people get to work at solving these problems. If things continue the way they are, we will likely get to a point where knowledge of the game is going to be a far more powerful tool than mere luck itself. Today, we are going to take a quick look at 2 new world records, and they are both crazy for different reasons. I have my idea about which is crazier, but you can let me know in the comments what you think. And if you aren't subscribed already, please click that button as I'm trying to be the first YouTuber to reach 1 billion subscribers. I really hope you enjoy. On the 22nd of February, the legendary Minecraft speedrunner Illumina achieved a time of 13 minutes and 53 seconds. This beat the existing world record, held as a tie by the runners Rainx and Xylonox, by 14 seconds. And of course, I'm talking about the random seed glitchless category here, for the latest version of the game. This run broke the 14-minute barrier, which is fantastic, but what makes this run absolutely incredible is the omission of a little tool speedrunners like to use called F3. On the Minecraft leaderboards, you will see an F3 column, and those with a keen eye will notice that every player here has F3, meaning that it was used. But standing alone at the very top is Illumina, with a big fat no F3, meaning that it was not used. When F3 is pressed while playing Minecraft, it brings up the debug screen, telling you a bunch of information. Everything from your exact coordinates to how many chunks or mobs are loaded around you. This screen is used all the time by almost every single runner, and at this stage it's pretty crucial to many of the strategies that top players use. However, a small minority of people prefer not to use this screen, as they either consider it to be cheating or just find it less fun to play. I can totally understand where they're coming from, because this screen gives you a ton of information that you simply cannot know while playing the game normally. On the other hand, playing without this tool can be really annoying as well, because then you are totally at the mercy of what you can see, which greatly increases the impact of luck factors outside of your control. In order to understand why F3 is so important, we will go through Illumina's run, and I will point out all of the times that he could have used it, but didn't. Illumina starts off near a village that contains 2 blacksmith houses. If you watched my video describing what a perfect Minecraft speedrun might look like, you would remember that this scenario is probably the most ideal you can hope for. In the blacksmith chests, Illumina gets an iron pickaxe and enough obsidian to immediately create a nether portal. He enters the nether at 3 minutes, which is really quick, but it definitely can be a fair bit quicker depending on where you spawn. In this case, it took Illumina 30 seconds after spawning to reach the village, so had he spawned in the village, he would be half a minute ahead of where he was. Inside the nether is where the first major use of F3 normally comes into play. Our goal inside the nether is to find a fortress and a bastion, and it's really important to understand a couple of principles behind how their spawn locations are managed. I will leave it to top speedrunner Curryway to explain.
The way that structure generation works in the Nether is that one structure, either a fortress or a bastion, spawns in a quadrant. The only exception to this rule is that bastions can't spawn in basalt deltas, but for simplicity's sake in this example, we'll ignore that for now. Quadrants are 432 by 432 blocks wide, or 27 by 27 Minecraft chunks, so there is quite a large space for structures to spawn.
So if only one structure can spawn in each quadrant, it's imperative to know where these quadrants are. If you've already found a fortress in one quadrant, for example, you don't want to waste time searching for a bastion inside that same quadrant, because you simply will never find it. Given that F3 tells us our coordinates, this lets us know which quadrant we are in, and which direction we need to go in order to reach the next one over. Without F3, this becomes really difficult. Illumina uses an advanced trick where he begins to break a rock and takes note of the pattern of the cracks that form. This at least tells him the direction he is facing. But lately, there has been an even more useful way to take advantage of F3, and it revolves around the E value. E stands for entities, and tells us how many mobs are loaded in both the direction we are facing and also in general. There is a cap on how many random entities can spawn at any one time, but piglins that spawn inside a bastion are not random entities, and they aren't included in that cap. Therefore, you can use the number of entities to tell you where the bastions are, as the E number will spike up greater than what could otherwise be accounted for by random mobs. This knowledge is crucial because it extends far further than you can physically see, and even applies through walls. The numbers on the F3 screen can also tell us about how many bastions are located nearby, and which is the closest. It can even tell you immediately if there are no bastions at all, which would be an immediate reset. In the long run, the ability to reset quickly has a massive impact, as the more runs you do and the more worlds you play, the greater the chances of everything coming together. Illumina has to rely on coming across structures by chance, which obviously in this case he did. He finds both a fortress and a bastion relatively close by. His blaze rod drop rates in the fortress were insanely good, getting 6 rods from 7 blazes. Again, each blaze has a 50% chance of dropping, so you can do the math on those odds. He then heads to the bastion where he mines gold blocks and uses the gold to trade with piglins. Players will dig a hole and then throw gold inside, which traps the piglins. You can see just how many piglins fall in, and as long as you find enough gold blocks, you can imagine how quickly you can execute a lot of trades. Illumina requires 2 items, ender pearls and obsidian. He actually gets enough pearls pretty quickly, but doesn't have enough obsidian to create a second nether portal, so he needs to wait for more trades. Using a second nether portal to re-enter the overworld is called blind travel, and it's another part of the run that almost every player will use F3 for. Given that strongholds spawn inside of a stronghold ring, we can use math to calculate exactly how far out from origin you want to re-enter the overworld to give you the best chances of spawning close to a stronghold. Therefore, players will check their coordinates inside of the nether and place a nether portal exactly where they think it should be. But given that Illumina can't check his coordinates, he simply has to guess, and he lays down a portal exactly where he is once he has the obsidian. He finishes the second portal at around 8:30, which is crazy, and is only around 30 seconds slower than the fastest ever. Unfortunately, when he re-enters the overworld, the stronghold is really far away. In fact, it was 1,500 meters from his portal. That is terribly unlucky, and he loses a couple of minutes immediately just having to travel that far. This wasn't necessarily the fault of not using F3 though, as other players have checked, and even with the use of coordinates, he still would have been extremely far away. In the overworld, finding the stronghold itself is again an area where players take advantage of F3. They will throw an eye and use F3 to see the exact angle they are facing. They will then move sideways and do this again. By using triangulation, you can know how far the stronghold is by comparing the different angles. Without F3, you can still do this somewhat, however it's much more difficult and less precise. Luckily, the stronghold was ocean exposed, meaning that you can visibly see it in the water, and he was able to enter the portal room directly. Entering the end at 12:30, a fast end is still a necessity at this point if there is to be any chance of a new world record, and obviously, as history showed, a fast ending is what happened, with the dragon perching very quickly.
can't believe it. Oh.
Yes, this new world record is insane, but I really can't stress enough how much more impressive it is without the use of F3, especially these days with so many strategies relying on it. Without F3, you are at such a disadvantage, not just in the run itself, but also over the course of weeks and months. Other players will be resetting much more often, playing out many more runs, and taking advantage of more opportunities that you couldn't even see without the debug screen. Illumina's run could have easily been less than 13 or even 12 minutes. The great distance to the stronghold cost him a lot of time. Compare this to a recent PB by the runner Feinberg, who achieved a time of 14 minutes and 45 seconds. This run is less than 1 minute slower than Illumina's new record, but the crazy thing is that he finished his second nether portal at around 13 minutes, which is 4.5 minutes behind the world record. It just so happened that he spawned directly inside of a stronghold and had one of the quickest finishes ever. The odds of spawning inside a stronghold is currently around 1 in 2,000. However, as I alluded to at the beginning of the video, some new tech is being figured out that may reduce this to around 1 in 100. So this might become a much more common occurrence in the near future. Now, the icing on the cake with this new world record is the fact that Illumina became the first person to achieve a world record in each of the current 3 version categories: pre 1.9, 1.9 to 1.15, and 1.16. An incredible accomplishment, and one that is even more impressive without the use of F3. As fate would have it, Illumina's new record wouldn't last long. 24 hours later, the speedrunner 2-letter name posted a 13:52, which would beat Illumina's record by a second. But this was just the beginning. On the very next day, he would post a run that blew everything else before it out of the water. A 12-minute and 12-second speedrun, beating the nearest competitor by 1 minute and 41 seconds. A quick disclaimer first, this run has not been verified yet, so we still have to wait to see what the moderators say, but assuming everything gets the green light, why was this run so fast? Well, by the time he finished his second portal, he was 30 seconds behind Illumina's run. But from here, he was way luckier. The distance to the stronghold was only a few hundred meters, and after entering the end portal, he had one of the fastest perches of all time. Don't be fooled though, aside from getting really lucky with a couple of sections, the run was really well played. Usually runs have a fair amount of time loss through poor decision making, sloppy movement, or slow crafting, but this 12-minute run is very clean. This kind of pace isn't completely out of left field either. With all of the new strategies being worked out, there have actually been a fair amount of runs that have been around the same pace, but they ultimately fell short due to some bad luck. Things are changing very quickly at the moment, so it's hard to say how long this record will last. But just looking at how far ahead it is from second place, you would have to assume it might be a while. We will just have to wait and see. So which run do you think is the craziest? Illumina's groundbreaking no F3 run, or 2-letter name's blazingly fast 12-minute run? Personally, I do have to say, there is something uniquely special about Illumina beating every other player, even if it only lasted a single day. Let me know in the comments what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.